Right, everybody. Thank you. And thanks, Jill, for taking care of that. Um, Welcome again. This is our second insider look, and I want to thank all of you for making the time to join us this afternoon. Today, we've invited Gabby Johnson, who is the program manager of our Sisters program. We're going to use an interview format, and we're going to discuss harm reduction strategies that our staff use when they're doing street outreach to women in the street-based sex trade. Afterwards, we'll invite questions, and you can also feel free to type any questions or comments in the chat. Last time we tried to do this in a half an hour, and that was really cutting it tight. So today, we'll see if, how we land when it's 12:30, but we are very happy to stay on our end until at least 1:45. So anyone who wants to ask questions or have a little bit of dialogue, we have an opportunity to do that. So to begin with, I just want to give you a very quick overview of our Sisters program and a couple of working definitions of harm reduction. And then I'm going to introduce Gabby. How's that sound? Hopefully I can share my screen. Right. Can y'all see that? Okay. The Sisters program, I think many of you have heard of it before. Some of you are our strategic partners in making the Sisters program even possible. And do we know that person there, darling? One of our past outreach workers who's now working with Franciscan Peacemakers is on the Zoom call, and she is featured in this picture. But the Benedict Center Sisters program is about helping women in the street-based sex trade find hope and live healthier and safer lives. So I think many of you are already aware of the very serious issues that women are facing when they are in this situation, not the least of which is violence and actually an increased chance for homicide and overdose deaths. They're facing a lot of trauma. There's a lot of substance use disorders, homelessness. And then on top of that, there's the criminalization and the stigma of women in the street-based sex trade. So our first point of outreach is street outreach. And so here it's about building relationships and trust, providing some basic needs. On a hot day like today, it's about providing water and an invitation to the drop-in centers. I'm gonna go past this pretty quickly because Gabby's gonna go into more detail, but you can see the fantastic outreach van we have thanks to Impact 100 and a previous grant. Outreach is then working to connect women to our drop-in centers. We have one on the north side and one on the south side. And the very first piece of this is hospitality, and very much like a day homeless shelter. And then we also provide healing services, which is counselors and case managers working with women as they advance in their healing journey. I'm going to talk just a little bit about harm reduction because it's not really been in our mainstream vernacular very long, although the Benedict Center was an earlier adopter of harm reduction principles. That's why one of our oldest programs is called the Women's Harm Reduction Program. So when I think about harm reduction, what it means to me, or my working definition, is that it means we'll walk with you at your own pace. And we know that recovery is never a straight path, and that's okay. And we use a concept called the stages of change, which is illustrated to the right, about how any human being makes changes, whatever those are. It could be any habit you're trying to stop or any new habit you're trying to establish. And you go from not ready yet to thinking about it, to preparing for action, to taking action, to maintaining. And then, of course, relapsing or falling back into the old ways is very much a part of this process. It's not failure. It's something that we can actually learn to be prepared for and move forward again. There's many different definitions of harm reduction out there, and they really range. So one definition I'm sharing here is actually from the National Harm Reduction Coalition. And you'll see that they are describing it as a set of practical strategies and ideas to reduce the negative consequences associated with drug use. It's also a social justice movement built on the belief in and respect for the rights of people who use drugs. So that is coming from the National Harm Reduction Coalition. And I think what's important for the Benedict Center is that our practice of harm reduction is very much rooted in our values that everybody, no matter what, has worth and deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. SAMHSA, which is part of our United States federal government, Substance Use and Mental Health Services Administration, they also have on their website, and we can share these slides with you so you can go and check it out for yourself, a lot more information, but they also talk about harm reduction being a set of strategies. They go so far as to share that it's evidence-based. So that means it's been studied and proven to be effective and work to really equip people who use drugs with life-saving tools and information that could change their lives, that could save their lives. And so this is a really key part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services overdose prevention strategy in response to the opioid epidemic that our country is currently facing. So I'm whipping through these kind of fast because I want to get to our conversation. But like I said before, we can make these available. Just wanted to give a little bit of a primer for what that looks like. So now we're going to introduce Gabby. Gabby started as a street outreach specialist. She very quickly was promoted to our as a street outreach supervisor. And most recently, as in just a few weeks ago, we're so excited and honored because of her growth and leadership and really stepping up. We have just promoted her to being the program manager of our Sisters program. So I'm very, very pleased to introduce Gabby. If you want to unmute yourself and stay unmuted, Gabby, and we'll go back and forth. For folks, if you want to adjust your view to feature the speaker, you can focus in. Otherwise, I think very, very shortly you'll see who Gabby is on the screen. So Gabby, we gave an overview of the Sisters program, but today we're going to focus on the street outreach team. Could you briefly describe the team, what they do, where they go? That slide I shared went really fast. Maybe you could tell us in your words.
So hello, everybody. As Jean stated, I'm Gabby. So our outreach team is a two-man show. We go between the north side and south side of Milwaukee in area where sex work is very prevalent and high. On the south side, we go between Lincoln, National, and Greenfield, and all between kind of in between places. And then on the north side, we do Lisbon, North Avenue, and Atkinson, and again in between places. And pretty much there, we pretty much meet the women where they are. We will kind of pull over in certain areas, or actually kind of pull up where ladies are and offer them a variety of things that we do have accessible within that moment. So we are trying to hit essential needs such as hygiene, any harm reduction, things that we have available, as well as providing them with food.
Thank you so much, Gabby. Can you explain why street outreach is such a strategic part of our Sisters program?
So street outreach is basically how we meet all of our ladies. So like I said, we meet them where they are. A lot of the women don't even know about the Benedict Center. So essentially street outreach is introducing them to the Benedict Center, as well as providing them with the resources. A lot of the times the connections are first made with street outreach, which then street outreach will get the ladies to come into our drop-in centers. So essentially using the drop-in centers as hey, I know we just have these kind of quick necessities, but if you want more, then connecting them with our drop-in centers and even actually taking them there to kind of help with that connection pass off with our drop-in centers.
Thank you, Gabby. It sounds like, first of all, and we are meeting women literally where they are, right, out on the streets. And a lot of times for shorthand, when we are describing harm reduction, we start by explaining that harm reduction is about meeting people where they are. Usually that's really a reference to figuratively, as in they might not be ready to make changes yet. But we are also meeting women literally where they are, which is why it's a neighborhood level program. Excuse me. Also, what I'm hearing is that building trust and rapport with women must be a pretty instrumental part, and really one of the first things that street outreach is able to establish. Otherwise, why would somebody follow you to the drop-in center or engage with you further? Why is trust a difficult thing to establish, and why is it so important in street outreach?
Trust is a very difficult thing to gain due to the fact a lot of our ladies have been played or told one thing and something else kind of happens. So we really have to build with our ladies in ensuring with them that we are not here. We aren't the enemy, pretty much. We aren't trying to get them in trouble. That we do understand choices that aren't being made aren't the best ones, but we're not using it against them. I think one big thing the ladies love, they are able to kind of give us street names if they do not want to give us their real names. However, we kind of use it as a leverage with wanting to help more. If we do ever get real names, we let them know that this is just only for our tracking service to kind of help them with their homelessness, but we do not ever give their names to anyone, and we aren't giving. So the ladies' biggest thing in concern is police contact. We let them know that we do not work with the police, so there would never be a situation of us giving their information out. So then this really helps the ladies as far as having that trust, because then we're calling them the names that they want us to call them by, but they are aware that we do have their information, but we don't give it out to anyone. If it is given, it's in the sense of us helping them towards housing.
Mhm. Thank you so much. It is so important. When you first started working street outreach, we had some harm reduction strategies, but with your leadership, you've really expanded the HR, I'm sorry, and by HR, I mean harm reduction resources, strategies, and partnerships that we have. Harm reduction is a specific term, and as I mentioned it earlier, it's not something that everybody knows exactly what that means when they hear it, even though they might be using harm reduction in their lives without even knowing, oh, that's what it's called. Before you worked for the Benedict Center, had you ever heard of the phrase harm reduction?
So I had heard of it, but I actually didn't know. Actually, even in my interview, I did not know what
Yeah.
harm reduction meant. So I will say it was definitely a great learning experience when I first started street outreach. My partner at the time definitely really exposed me and helped me have a good understanding of what harm reduction and really getting a bigger picture of, you kind of hear where people say you meet them where they are, but really seeing it and providing it. And I think that's what helped me expand what we already had going with harm reduction.
Thank you. And I ask because I think a lot of us, we weren't born knowing what it is, right? So at some point we all are learning what that is. If you were telling someone, say at a family picnic, or say you were interviewing someone and they didn't know what harm reduction was, how would you describe it today?
So typically how I start off is harm reduction is putting people first. Harm reduction kind of acknowledge that some behaviors are inherently risky, and it focus on saving and preventing harm to people engaging in them. So really understanding that sometimes you have to meet a person where they are, and allowing to put the course in their hands.
That's fantastic. I love that piece about putting people first. I think that that's really true of the staff at Sisters program. What are some of the could you give us just kind of a laundry list or some of the examples of the harm reduction services that we do offer through street outreach?
So through street outreach, our ladies are able to get condoms from us. The newest thing that we had added on earlier this year was the needle exchange. So they are able to get syringes, cookers, alcohol pads, cotton balls. We actually have pipe holders. We also have fentanyl testing strips as well as Narcan for the ladies as all harm reduction options for them.
So that's a lot. Start by telling us about fentanyl testing strips. What's fentanyl? What are the testing strips, and how do they work?
So fentanyl is a drug that is actually being mixed into the drugs choice of our clients. And the testing strips actually will test to let the ladies know if there is fentanyl in their drug. So the way that it works is the ladies will actually have to take a little of the drug, kind of put it in a cup, put a little water in it, and you would actually put the testing strip in there to test it. And then it will let the ladies know if this is safe or if it isn't safe.
Okay. So and I think probably many of us have been hearing about the increases of overdoses, and perhaps you've heard fentanyl being associated with it, but it's really driven the overdose death rate in Milwaukee County as it has across the United States. So this is just one tool that someone who does have a substance use disorder and they're not ready to go into treatment, or that's not their choice at the time, it gives them a tool to know a little bit more about whether they're risking an overdose or that fentanyl is present. When you first excuse me, when you first offered the testing strips during street outreach, what was the response, and what is it like now?
So when we first got them, no ladies would take it from us. We actually had ladies telling us that they were not going to waste their drugs on it, because once we started explaining to them of how it was used, they were like, yeah, no, I'll take my chance, kind of. Also, too, in the beginning, a lot of ladies had this perception of fentanyl was only coming up in heroin. So once more overdoses started occurring, with it being in heroin, cocaine, marijuana, kind of everything, then the ladies started being more kind of conscious and wanted to be more aware, especially them being around people who were actually having overdose. And finding out that there were fentanyl in there. So now literally ladies are blowing up my outreach team for fentanyl strips and Narcan.
And quickly, Narcan, do you have I think you brought a sample of Narcan to maybe
Yeah.
show? So Narcan is something that can help reverse the impact or the effects of overdoses.
Yeah. So this is actually the nasal one. There are two types. There's an injectable one, and then there's a nasal one. We typically give out the nasal. We do have some injectable ones, and pretty much this is what it will look like. I'll take it out to kind of show you guys. but pretty much it's a nasal one. You would actually just literally put it up in the nasal, and at the bottom there's like a little pump, and you would pump it a few times. You would give the client a chance, and if they need more Narcan, then you would repeat the exact same thing with the nasal injection.
Hmm. So thank you. So this is probably one of the very first harm reduction tools that started being rolled out. Used to be that it was just first responders like EMTs or fire department that could administer this, but now it's getting into the hands not only of first of advocates and social services, but there's now things like vending machines
Yeah.
that our Milwaukee County has where people can get them. You can now buy Narcan even at the drugstore. And it's really something that can be very life-saving for a loved one who might be using. In the interest of time, though, and to kind of keep clicking away, syringe exchange, and I saw some eyebrows raise as that's our newest, the safer use kits. Can you share the story with me that you shared earlier with the Sister South Advisory Board about how you came to see the need for us to have a needle exchange service?
So what really kind of prompt me to it was we had a client that we had been working with on the south side that eventually kind of started sharing things with me. This client was HIV positive, and she actually shared with me that the way that she actually contracted HIV was through her substance abuse. She actually stated that she had needed a hit, as she would say, so bad that a person she was with, she knew they had HIV. She thought that she cleaned the needle good enough, and subsequently injected herself with HIV. After kind of hearing that story, it really kind of like stuck with me because we are dealing with a population that has substance issues, and to know that with harm reduction we have an understanding that essentially we may not want them to use, but they are going to use, that if we are giving condoms in a sense for them to be safe, then we should be looking at other methods, which is what made me push hard for us to get the needle exchange program.
Thank you so much, Gabby. What I'm hearing in the stories about fentanyl testing strips, Narcan, the syringe exchange, is that these things that your team is able to provide is they're really matters of life and death. That what we're providing is very much designed to save lives so that people can live to see another day and potentially make different choices. Maybe
Yes.
and I think that in some cases, engaging in harm reduction services at this level can be the beginning of a journey towards engaging in further recovery. So so I appreciate that it's not what we are advocating or condoning or what we want to see happen. It's about recognizing that people are dying in our
Right.
community and it could be prevented. And so if we can withhold our judgment and provide them with these life-saving tools, there's an opportunity for their precious lives to be preserved, saved, and because everybody has worth. So to wrap up our part of this, I wondered if you could share a story of hope. If you could share a story of how Street Outreach successfully connected with a woman and how that helped her along on her healing journey.
Yeah, I have a client that I could share a story with. So I had a client that I originally connected with her on Street Outreach. And in the beginning, she really did not kind of want to deal with us. She would get stuff here and there, but kind of every time we see her, we would make acknowledgement with her. Um, she then ended up falling on hard terms as far as started sharing with me about being in an abusive situation and trying to flee from that person, as well as then it ended up her kids being with her in her vehicle. I actually was able to get her in our category 4 DV housing grant, where she did receive a voucher, and she has been successfully housed for about 5 months now, her and her children, and it has been going very successfully for her. We meet regularly. We have home visits, and things have definitely been kind of going on an uproar for her. So I think it's very amazing, because we always think back of how we first make encounters, and a lot of ladies do not necessarily trust us. But then, kind of getting to the point where she opened up and now successfully is in housing, I think that's just it shows that even sometimes when we feel like we're not making any changes, this is what helps shows the changes.
Thank you so much, Gabby. And while we were talking a lot about harm reduction strategies very specific to drug use and reducing the risks there, housing and using a housing first strategy is also a form of harm reduction. It's the idea that nobody is going to make progress in their lives or really be able to be safe and healthy unless they first have a safe place to sleep. And that's where our partnership with the housing division, working on housing first solutions, has also been, really just an extension or an expansion of that harm reduction philosophy that we are so influenced and shaped by. So thank you again. Just want to add that last year in 2022, Gabby's team reached over 500 individual women in Milwaukee, thousands of times, but over 500, and that represents a 50% increase over the previous year. So it's just tremendous to know that with your leadership, Gabby, with the hard work of the teams, with our partnerships with organizations like Diverse and Resilient and UMOS and Vivint, and also with donors and supporters, people who are on the Zoom chat with us, that have made that possible for 500 women last year to be connected to life-saving resources. And I think you're set up to really surpass that goal already this year. So we'll be looking forward to sharing that with people too. So I want to turn to Q&A. There's already a few in the chat. And then if you're not comfortable with chat, we'll you can wave your hand and we will we'll also call on you that way. So the first question in from Tim is, how does the needle exchange program work?
I'm sorry, my thing had froze. So pretty much what happens is we do exactly like how the needle exchange program goes. So they will come to us. In the packets there are 10 needles. So they will ask us, we'll ask them how many do they need. We provide a 27 gauge and a 29 gauge. And then pretty much Vivint has this kind of demographic sheet we have to fill out. So we will just ask them what age range they fall under, if they have hepatitis C, HIV, do they have state insurance, and if they are getting this for themselves or someone else. So they are able to get the supplies for other people if they are not using it. And then if they are a veteran, that is kind of everything with the needle exchange program.
Okay, so then we're giving people that kit. Do they get a sharps container to go
Yeah,
with that?
we also provide them with sharps containers, as well as we do have a big sharp container in our van, as well as we do have a partnership with UMOS, who comes out and do testing with us. They have actually put drop sites on the street too, for the women to put the needles in sharp containers in there as well.
Thank you. Tim, I hope that answers your question. If you have a follow-up question after we get through the others in the chat, we'd be happy to entertain that. So there's a point of clarification from Courtney Geiger, just to verify that for the nasal, it should be one firm
Yeah.
push up the nostril. If it's multiple times, or if it's not really up in the nose the way it's supposed to be, it could be wasted. So thank you, Courtney, for making sure that we're very specific and accurate with how to effectively use the Narcan. So then we go to Lexi. Lexi said, can you speak on what hours your outreach goes out? And can you share an example of a situation that made your team uncomfortable or unsafe, if there is any?
So our outreach team goes out from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. or until we are completely out of kind of lunches or kind of whatever we have for that day, the resources we have for that day. I think the only time we have been in uncomfortable situations is if we are giving service to ladies and a John will kind of come or is trying to. So let's say a lady may have ran out on a John, and then the John sees the lady at our van. We've had situations where someone has kind of walked up to the van. However, we keep our windows completely up, and we will tell them to move, and we will leave from the situation. But that is kind of the only unsafe situations. Anytime we feel something is occurring, we will move away from the situation. Now, we have had situations where ladies have ran up to the van, kind of trying to get away from a very dangerous situation. And I have always, between myself and my teammate, we will make sure if we feel comfortable, then we will allow, or we'll kind of tell the lady, hey, meet us over here, so that we aren't just kind of in harm's way.
Thank you. So part of the training and preparation is learning how to sort of scan and read the street and be aware that there are traffickers, there are violent customers, and there's a lot going on. So needing to basically read the situation to maintain safety best we can for everybody. So we have Sister Judy with the School Sisters in Notre Dame asking about an update on, whoops, I feel like this got disconnected a little bit. An update about the Benedict Center. Was that Sister Judy? Can you maybe just restate your question?
Yeah, I was just thanking you for the update. And
okay.
My second question came in. I wondered, do you have occurrences when you work with the street angels that you think people that you could jointly work or refer them, or? And
so we will refer our ladies to Street Angel, and there has been instance where there is like a community day where a lot of the outreach teams come together, and that is when we have worked with Street Angel. But if ladies are in need of anything after like our time or street outreach has ran out, we do always kind of stay Street Angels or different other organizations that we are aware of, because Street Angel hours are later. So we do let the ladies know about them quite frequently.
Thank you so much.
We feel very kindred to Street Angels, and on an advocacy side, we also work with them. Just want to thank the School Sisters of Notre Dame. They are one of our strategic partners that support our operations on the sisters on the South Side. So thank you, Sister Judy. Who do we have up next? We have a shout out from our board president, Margaret Bailey Stewart, saying thank you, Gabby. Your work, the work you're doing is making a huge difference. Tim's follow-up is also thank you, very inspiring. Another thank you. Did that one. Thank you from Diane. Thank you from Nancy Yarbrough, who runs Fresh Start, which is another advocacy organization and partner in the community. So here we have Lexi working with Vivint Health.
I
And
think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I think that would actually be great for the ladies in those later hours, because I know a lot of ladies, if they don't necessarily catch us during the time, they will just kind of follow back up. A lot of them are aware of different things, because I do think the needle exchange that actually goes through Vivint, I know they have an actual number, so the ladies will tell us, like, they will contact them when they kind of miss us. But I do think that would be beneficial, because we do have ladies who are out way later in the night.
Thank you. So Lexi, I'm going to go so far as to ask if you could follow up and we could talk about what those possibilities might be. Cindy, if you could type mine and Gabby's email in the chat, Lexi, we'd really love to follow up and have that conversation. We already have partnership with Vivint, but always looking for ways to expand services. One of the things that we'd very much like to do in terms of growing the Sisters program is to expand our drop-in center hours and expand our street outreach. Part of that is limited by resources. We try and close that gap by coordinating and partnering and leveraging partnerships with Franciscan Peacemakers or Fresh Start or Vivint or Street Angels. Each organization does something a little bit different, but also just know that your ongoing support will help us grow and expand those hours as well. Relationship with the police department is an interesting one. And I would say from the leadership, absolutely, the Chief Norman, assistant chiefs, inspectors, and district captains of this current administration, if you will, have been very supportive. They want to see women get the help that they need. They will often tell you, we know that arresting women isn't going to solve the problem in a long-term kind of way. We've been working on and off for the last 10 years to establish what we've been calling a pre-arrest diversion program. So whether women are actually victims of sex trafficking currently or past, whether they're there for survival or other reasons, they are very visible, very easy to blame all of the problems in the neighborhood on, and very frequently arrested or ticketed or fined as a response, even though I think decades of trying this have proven that it doesn't work. So we have suggested that when police feel that they absolutely must do something, that they have an alternative to that arrest, and that they could refer women to a program like Sisters instead. We've been working on that, stops and starts depending on leadership and who's leading the police department, basically, and what their current opinion on that is. But Chief Norman has signed a memorandum of understanding with us, the Milwaukee County Housing Division, the Milwaukee County DA's office, to put together a protocol and to pilot a pre-arrest diversion program. I'm really excited to share, and it's not super public yet, so you're getting this scoop right now, that just recently the police department has approved the protocol. And so we might be looking forward to piloting that in the near future. Our preference would be that the police you know, we don't need the introduction. We're reaching 500 women without police needing to refer women to us. But we want to avoid women getting into a criminal justice system that is only going to exacerbate their problems, not actually solve the problem for themselves or the community. But if they feel that they must, because they have that jurisdiction, they have that power, we want to give them a solution. And so I'm very glad that they've been open-minded enough to working through this kind of idea. But as Gabby said, making it clear with the women that when we have their names and know who they are, that information is not going to the police is very important as well. And so it's a balance, right? To want to have a positive relationship with the police department and make sure that we're ensuring trust with women on the street. I'll say another way that we work with the police department is actually sensitive crimes, which investigates sexual assaults, sex trafficking. They also refer women who are victims to us for follow-up services. And I think some of the other agencies that are represented here also have that kind of relationship as well. So just clicking along, the safety training, Courtney, I'm not sure if we've met, or I know what agency you're with.
Yeah, the City of Milwaukee Health Department. Hi.
Oh, hey,
We
how are you?
just met in person at the COSUP grant meeting.
Yes, thank you. I think it would probably be best to follow up. I think that our safety training has been something that it's kind of been our in-house shared knowledge or building institutional knowledge, but we are interested in sharing what we know and learning more. We've also been in conversations with some other entities about providing training just to better understand what women are facing. So I'd be very happy to follow up and have a conversation with you about that.
Excellent. I do see your email in the chat, so I'll just go ahead and shoot you a message.
Do that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So follow-up question about the needle exchange. So this will be for you, Gabby. Does the individual have to request the needles, or are they automatically provided?
So it kind of goes both ways. Because being on street outreach, you're very familiar with clients. So some clients will just automatically ask, but we do let them know what we have in the van available for services. The picture will kind of state is that we do also offer syringes. And if someone be like, oh no, I don't use needles, we'll say, well, we have them if you know someone who does need them. So that's kind of how we go about it, but it is always acknowledged for people to know, because then what happens is that's how we start getting a lot of people coming to us like, hey, you guys have needles, and then we start there.
So I think the last question in the chat is, do we make referrals to Sojourner? And I think that it's fair to say that we definitely consider Sojourner Family Peace Center a close partner in fighting against gender-based violence, domestic violence. They're also an ally in the anti-trafficking movement. We certainly have referred women to the shelter for those services. What we've also learned, though, is that what women experience when they are being trafficked or fleeing a trafficker is sometimes unique, even though there's a lot in common. It's sometimes unique from domestic violence. And also, I'll say that there just aren't enough resources, period, even for domestic violence. And so one of the things that we've spent some time doing is developing a relationship with an organization called Exploit No More, which does provide emergency transitional housing for women who are fleeing or are survivors. And there's some other organizations that are providing safe housing, like Franciscan Peacemakers. I think Fresh Start has some availability. and others. So it's not always a referral to the DV shelter. It's sometimes kind of a network. And as we were talking about before, being in a shelter, you could still be homeless, right? And so working towards getting to permanent housing is also a really critical piece of that puzzle. But the bottom line is there's not enough emergency beds. There's not enough permanent housing resources, but we've been using our systems change advocacy to really work on increasing those resources, and hope to continue doing that. Okay, so you can see our email addresses here. I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that if you feel so moved right now to make a donation to support the good work of Gabby and her team in reaching those 500, probably this year it's going to be more women, to really give them these life-saving tools so that they can live to see another day and make those steps when they're ready on their terms. You can go to our website. Cindy can put that in the put that link in the chat as well, and make a donation directly today if you feel so moved. Are there any other questions from the audience? If you don't want to type, but you can like wave your hand, or if you want to share a comment or a reflection. Hey, Nancy.
I just think that this is really wonderful. I haven't seen all these faces at the same time in such a long time, and collaboration is key. So thank you, Gabby, the Benedict Centers, Francisca's Peacemakers, and everyone else that's on here that has a hand touch in making somebody's life better. So thanks for the invite. I certainly appreciate it. And then keep up the good work, and see you out there on those streets.
Thank you. And P.S. Nancy, Melinda's trying to get a hold of you today. So
she did. And we
okay,
talked.
cool.
I told her.
All right.
I told her we'll follow up.
All right, very good. See, we're just always making those connections, right? Anyone else? Franciscan Peacemakers, would you like to explain a little bit about your new housing at the Catholic Worker House? I just got a tour the other day. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
In my neck of the woods. Go, darling, no. We provide a 2-year housing for women who have had at least 90 days of documentable sobriety to work on their healing, and also be able to have employment in our social enterprise. And we assist them with the navigation of all of their therapies, and to include like trauma therapy, regular therapy, and outpatient treatment. So we have 5 residents currently, and it's going okay.
It's a beautiful building. I think it's filled with love, and
It is
women,
beautiful. It's gorgeous housing.
And for women who have gone to detox or treatment, or can show that they have stopped using and are looking for sober housing, for housing where there's no drug use or alcohol use. This is a great sanctuary for them to be able to heal and build up. I know we've made at least one referral, and we'll continue to do that when we have someone that, you know, is a good match.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. We make a lot of referrals to you guys too. We take people to sisters all the time.
well, and sometimes
and Gabby, sometimes we have to call Gabby to come and do a visit for us, and she does. So thank you, Gabby, for everything.
No, thank
You
you
can
guys
see we
too.
have this-
You're the best.
So we have this web, right, of advocates that are working together in the community. Fresh Start, Inner Beauty, who's not here today, but they're definitely an important partner. Pathfinders, which works with young adults and minors. So there's way too big of a need and not nearly enough resources. So you can see how important partnerships are, whether it's that way, or whether it's with an organization like Vivint or the health department, to get those resources out there. Any other questions? Thank you, Renee, for your support. All right, well, we're at 12:51. I want to thank you for staying on, and always open for follow-up conversations or questions. Our emails are in the chat, and we hope that you'll stay in touch. Have a good day and stay cool, everybody. Hydrated and cool. All right, bye.
Hi, Darlene.